Hey guys, well, this is a first for me. So I can't even spell the word technology. So, we'll see how this goes. But I think I'm streaming live to Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn at the same time. Kind of cool. So we'll see if if I'm not, then I'll eat humble pie. But so what I want to talk about today is the state that we're in, economically, and I've got some stats on that. And I did a YouTube video, oh gosh, probably been about 3 weeks ago, about what I believe to be a coming crash in the real estate market. Some people think I'm crazy, and who knows? I'm wrong all the time. I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like I'm wrong. But we'll see. And I mean, it's been watched a lot, 70,000 times on YouTube, and people love negative stuff. So that's why the news sells so well. But I will tell you. A lot of economists are saying that we're still in the middle of a recession, that they say is the worst the U.S. has experienced since the 1930s. And all you have to do is go to any retail area, restaurant, shops, and see, just how bad things are. And, the U.S. economy literally shattered records when it plunged like 33% the second quarter of this year. And at some point, I mean, they're negotiating it right now. At some point, that stimulus is going to stop. Let's hope they do another one. It's likely that they will before the election. But hey, guys, Paras, Yafu, Frank, welcome, guys. So, at some point, the stimulus has got to stop, though. I think the election is going to play a big role in that. Biden's talking about putting another $4 trillion in. I think if that happens, we're going to have some serious inflation. We could have $100 loaves of bread, but we'll just have to see. I mean, again, I'm not a sage on this, but it does feel like we're headed into some soup. And consumer spending, the biggest driver in the U.S. economy, has declined massively. And I'll give you some stats on that here in a second. I cited a Bankrate survey previously when I did that episode on the crash that, Americans plan to spend less, and in some cases, much less. And, the New York Times has said that there's going to be a wave of foreclosures and evictions when the stimulus runs out. Right now, we are at 25 million unemployed. That's a big freaking number, guys. And so, again, I just want to give you some pre-frame on this, why, I'm going to talk about how to keep residents when this happens, and by the way, I did a YouTube video on this, and I'll have my team put it in the link, or it's already in the link, of how to keep your residents. I go into a lot more detail than I'm going to go into tonight, but there's watch that YouTube video. I've got some really good stuff in there. Some of it's common sense, but it's definitely not all common sense. And so, I will tell you though, let me say this, as it relates to this crash conversation, with COVID, we have printed more money in the last few months than we printed the entire time in the years after the 2008 crash. So keep that in mind, and they're talking about printing a lot more. So, I don't know about you, but I don't think that can be a good thing any way you shake it. Okay. To me, it's inflation. It's got inflation written all over it. So we'll see. But, I'm going to tell you, so let's talk about some recent stuff. I pulled some research, and according to the US, from focuseconomics.com, economic activity has recovered a whole lot in the third quarter. But, the GDP did contract at the fastest rate on record in the second quarter. So we know that. But what they're saying is, weekly unemployment benefits for these 25 million unemployed people expired in July. And there's a lot of uncertainty of the timing of another coronavirus package, and that they anticipate that could limit sales growth ahead. Let's talk about a market that's a little bit of a bellwether, and that's the New York rental market. The New York Times says vacancies have climbed to 10%. There were 67,000 available units across the city in July, and 120,000 were for lease, almost a 26% increase in June and July combined, which is really kind of staggering. Now, a surge in supply has caused people to, in New York at least, to lower rents and offer generous concessions and things of that nature. Now, again, rents are great in a lot of markets. Most of the markets that we're in, we're still seeing significant collections. We're down a little bit, but not much. But again, I think their stimulus is driving some of this, and maybe a significant part of this. Freddie Mac had its mid-year report, And, they talked about weakened economic drivers, including employment growth and overall household income stemming from this whole COVID-19 business, and that it's expected to weaken the multifamily market for the rest of 2020 and result in higher vacancies. And that's why I want to have this conversation. So I just want to pre-frame this conversation around rents. If you're thinking, what the hell is this Cleve talking about? We have no problem with rents right now. In my opinion, hey, if I'm wrong, great. But the strategies, definitely, going to want to watch that YouTube video, but the strategies in that video are going to work whether it's a great market or not, or a crash or not. So there are really some great kind of fundamental tips. Some of it will be common sense, and I'll highlight them here in just a minute. But again, Freddie Mac says that the multifamily market and the wider economy are really inexplorably tied, and how well they do is going to be tied to how quickly we get that coronavirus vaccine happening. Okay, and they've reported that demand has dropped, vacancies have risen in the second quarter, rent growth has slowed. It's not significant yet. Listen, let's hope I'm wrong. Let's hope it's not a major crash, but let's talk about what would happen if it is. Okay, and Mr. Rod Cleef with 0 interruptions. Thanks for. Do I normally have interruptions, Neil, or I'm the one doing the interrupting? Maybe you're just being giving me a hard time. Anyway, so I know that Freddie Mac says that again the stimulus is a big factor in this. Harvard report in that Freddie Mac report talks about a Harvard study that indicates 54% of renters were unemployed during the pandemic, compared with only 44% of U.S. households. So, it's many unemployed renters rely on those government benefits for housing, food, and other necessities. And what's going to happen is, without that extra stimulus for unemployment, an average of 70% of their unemployment benefits actually goes to pay their rental income. So that's a problem. Any of you that know, when you're doing an analysis on a tenant, that's a problem. So, I want to talk about what could happen. Let's talk for a minute at a high level about keeping your tenants in your properties. Let me see if I got any comments, or let's see. What do I think about the Michigan market? Let me say something to that, because there was something in here about the severity of the downturn as it relates to specific markets. And I wasn't going to go that micro, but since you asked the question, I will. Hang on a second. They anticipate, here it is. They anticipate the impact will differ across the country, with larger coastal markets, including, of course, San Francisco, San Jose, Miami, having greater income growth declines, but metros that will see a higher overall vacancy include the Sun Belt region: Dallas, Charlotte, Jacksonville, Orlando, Phoenix. So, it's going to be regional. It's definitely going to be regional based on, whatever submarket you're in. So I happen to like the Michigan market. Detroit's a little tough, but there are areas of Michigan that just kill it. So anyway, let's see what we got here. So no more questions. All right, fair enough. So let's talk about keeping your tenants in a property. And again, I've done a whole big YouTube video on this, so if you want to go watch the whole thing, but I want to give you some highlights. And again, some of this is going to be like a duh. Let me just pre-frame this. The first thing is, you got to keep your tenants happy. Okay, if you're taking care of your tenants, because I'm going to tell you, when this crash happens, if it happens, if it does happen, it's not going to be as important to lease new units as it is to keep the tenants that you already have, guys. It's critical. It's much easier to keep a tenant happy than to turn them. Your biggest expense in this multifamily business is turnover. All right. And by the way, guys, if you don't know, if you haven't seen me live, I have a live event coming up October 17th and 18th. And if you use the code RODFRIEND, you can still come for $97, 2 full days of me training. I'm not selling a freaking thing. So 16 hours of training, nothing being sold. So if you really want to dig in how to capitalize on what I think is going to be a shift in wealth, a transfer in wealth, come spend a couple days with me. Guys, put that multifamily virtual bootcamp domain in the comments. That's the website, multifamilyvirtualbootcamp.com. Use the code RODFRIEND. You can still come for $97. So back to these tenants. You want to keep them happy. And there's a lot of fundamentals involved with this, guys. Okay. It's making sure your properties stay in good condition, focusing on the culture and the customer experience, and just really being manic about keeping your residents happy, keeping an eye on, your Google reviews and your reputation management, taking a look at your competition. What are they doing? Are they offering incentives? But again, the big thing here is, I think one of the biggest things is maintenance. If you need to make sure your maintenance is on it, okay? If there's a maintenance request, you're on it like that, okay? Because if not, people are going to move. And that's just, it's so one of the things with our third-party property managers is we want to know what the aging is like on our maintenance work orders. And if it's over a day, I want to know why. And if it's over 5 days, then it's a crisis, okay? And so very, very important. And you should be calling your renters after a work order. You might even consider doing longer leases right now, okay? You could do rent caps. Temporarily even, but longer leases are absolutely fine. But here's another thing. Make sure it's really easy for your residents to communicate with you and turn in maintenance requests, okay? Make sure they can fill them out online, and, make sure that your staff more than ever has smiles on their faces. But really important that you pay attention to your competition so that you're competitive, because as things get tighter, they will lower their prices. And if you're not paying attention, you'll lose residents, and that's a problem. Okay. In many cases, it'd be better to drop the rent a little bit and keep your tenants happy than to lose them to a competitor. That's a big problem. But because again, keeping them happy is, and in the units, what's your biggest turnover? Biggest expense? Turnover, right? That's your biggest expense. So, go see if they've lowered their prices, see if they've done any incentives, offered any, free microwave, whatever, what they might be doing. Make sure they're not capturing market share from you. And, and I will tell you, if you are looking at properties right now, I would not be putting rent bumps in your pro formas. That's just my 2 cents, at least not for 2 or 3 years. I would actually anticipate drops, not increases. I have your pro forma with having higher vacancy rates in it. Hey, Jeremiah, what's up? Joe, welcome, guys. Good to see you guys. I appreciate you guys being here. I would also tell you to make sure you've got higher operating reserves. We closed on an asset in Cincinnati, and we've got over $1 million sitting there just in case. Okay. If you know my story, I lost a lot of money in 2008. Hit me once, shame on you. Hit me twice, it's my own fault. Okay. So very important that you have operating reserves. Also, this is super important. Be really tight on your key performance indicators. You've got to be looking at this thing, if not weekly, daily, okay? You need to make sure that your occupancy is there, that if you have a bunch of move-outs scheduled, you know about them and you're anticipating them. You've got to be watching your expenses really, really tight if things are tight. Every penny matters, okay? But the big thing, in my opinion, is the maintenance. Really manage, paying attention to the maintenance. I believe there's a crash coming. Again, I'm wrong all the time, and I will suck it up and, apologize if I'm wrong a year from now. But, I don't look at it as something to fear. I look at, yes, it's going to suck for a lot of people, and that's terrible. Yes, I agree. And I look at it with my rose-colored glasses, and when I see crisis, at least moving forward, back in 2008, I was hiding under a rock. But when I see crisis moving forward, I'm looking at it as opportunity. And, to take advantage of these opportunities, you got to know this business. So again, if you don't, I would highly encourage you to spend a couple days with me. If not me, just go learn it from somebody else, whatever, but learn this business. And but if you're not busy October 17th and 18th, with the code that I gave you, you can come for $97, and I'm not selling anything. It's truly a no-brainer, guys. And we go through every aspect of this business. It's not like a bunch of people, different people coming in like most guys do it to talk. It's me the whole 2 days. I do have panels. I've got a $4 billion panel on Saturday night, which will be really cool. Some real big hitters on that. But a lot of this, guys, is really common sense. But more than ever, it's being incredibly diligent as this is happening. And and another thing is, with this opportunity that's coming, the more cash you have access to, the better. Now, these deals take cash, but it doesn't have to be your cash. That's the beautiful thing. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is, as you're speaking to investors, people will get scared. And the media, oh, good God, don't get me started on that. I mean, they'll make it seem like it's horrible, and real estate will be dead for 10 years, and that's just what they do. Okay, they're not there to inform us, they're there to scare the hell out of us. And so you've got to pre-frame potential investors and partners and friends and family that, hey, when that happens, guys, we're going to get excited. Like Warren Buffett's quote about, when people are greedy, be fearful. When people are fearful, be greedy. And I don't like the greed word, but the bottom, what the messaging is. Be a contrarian, right? Be ready for that. And so if you're talking to your investors and saying, hey, it's going to look really ugly, just know that the media is going to make it seem much worse than it is, as they're doing now with everything else. Again, don't get me started. But the point is, when that happens, we're going to be able to buy assets at cents on the dollar. And again, if I'm wrong, then at least you're learning this business and you capitalize on it. We're buying deals right now, by the way. Okay. It's like people ask me, are you buying now? Yeah, we've got a deal in Augusta under contract and screaming deals, but we're very, very conservative right now. We're putting more operating reserves up. We're being very cautious about our leverage, and very, very paying very close attention to what our economic break-even point is and what we can do. But anyway, if you want to drill down on this and you have not been to any of my events, I don't know if you have been to one of my events, say something nice in the comments so people know what it's like. Because I'll be candid, I've never had a complaint. Yeah, I that's not true. I had a complaint that our breaks were too short. We do 15-minute breaks because I want to pack it in. I mean, I totally pack it in at these things, and so they complain that I do 15-minute breaks. But like, here's the manual. Okay, this is the manual for it. I mean, there's no fluff. I mean, it is drinking through a frickin' fire hose for 2 days. But anyway, if you're not listening to my podcast, I hope you'll check it out. We just broke 9 million downloads. Just unfreaking believable to me. But if you go on your iPhone and just put in real estate, I usually come up number one. Mark, I went to the event 6 weeks ago. Unbelievable. Thank you, brother. Myra went to the last event. Totally worth it. Thank you. I appreciate that. And guys, again, during this, when this happens, if it happens and it gets really ugly, your focus is critical. It's going to be so focused. Thank you, Gil. Was that Baltimore? Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. And when this happens, if it happens, it's going to be scary. And if you're watching me, you're a leader. And right now, more than ever, the world needs leaders. So manage your focus. Make sure that you're bringing in the good stuff, not the crap on CNN and these other channels. Bring in the good stuff. If you're not listening to my podcast, I do these Own Your Power clips. They're motivational. But even if it's not me, go on YouTube and put in motivational clips and bring in the good stuff, because your focus is everything. Whatever you focus on is going to grow, positive or negative. So make sure it's positive, because it could be the opportunity of a lifetime. And even if it's not, when you adopt that strategy and focus on what you want, not what you don't want, that's what you get, okay? That's how I was able to recover from losing $50 million to the success that I'm super blessed to have today, is focusing on what I want, not what I don't want. Anyway, be well, my friends. If you've got, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Alexandra. You're going to love it. Michelle. Oh, thank you, Michelle. Oh, that's beautiful. You guys sound, now I'm getting misty-eyed here. All this love. Thank you, my friends. Anyway, if I can add any value to you, or you have any questions, just put them in the feed here, and I'll make sure and get them, or my team will get them to me and I'll answer them. And just stay focused on what you want and take massive freaking action. At the very least, it's worth it to come to my boot camp if you haven't done your goals in a while, because that's the first thing we do. Because how are you going to get anything if you don't know what the heck it is, right? You need clarity on what it is you want. So, even if you just come and did that with me, it's worth $97. It's a steal. So anyway, guys, be well. Again, I'll do more of these. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go check out the video I did, because I go into more detail about how to keep your tenants. And you might want to listen to that YouTube video I did on the crash. It's a little sobering, but again, don't look at it that way. Look at it as opportunity, not fearfully. And if you're not subscribed on YouTube, make sure you do. And I think that's all I got. Guys, be well. And I'm going live again tomorrow to do an Ask Me Anything. And I think this is working. I will see if I show up everywhere, but I think this is working. And so if you've got any, thank you, brother. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Jose. And thank you, Neil. Wow. Okay. If you've got any questions, think about them and throw them at me tomorrow night. And I move quick and I'll go through them and we'll have a lot of fun. So if you're around, I'll do that at 6:30 Eastern tomorrow, not 7, because I'm old and I'll do it a little earlier. Anyway, all right, guys, be well, take care, and I hope to see some of you tomorrow. Take care. See you later.